Welcome to Raventhorn, where mist lingers even at midday and the sun seems to weep behind clouds of perpetual mourning. Here, legends tell of a curse that lingers over the kingdom, tainting every sunrise with sorrow and shrouding every soul in shades of despair. But amidst this kingdom of gloom, there existed a beacon, Queen Althea, wife to King Oberon and mother to Crown Prince Corwin. The people adored her, their beloved Ice Queen. With eyes like blue ice and hair the color of spun silver, she moved among her subjects with a quiet grace that turned whispers into prayers, both political and other. She did not decay, and so the prince grew from boy to young man, from sorrow to obsession. And all the while, Queen Althea remained still not alive, not dead, just there, eyes closed, skin pale but whole, a beautiful ego trapped in a body that refused to yield to time. Yet those closest to the prince began to whisper, why did he refuse marriage? Why were the castle windows always shuttered, the halls so cold? Why did no servant ever see the prince sleep in his own bed? Some claimed he was cursed. Others said he wandered the crypts each night, speaking to the shadows. Yet none dared question him aloud, for Corwin had become a man of quiet command, his stare heavy, his presence suffocating. He walked as though followed by ghosts, and in truth, he was, for in the deepest part of the West Wing, behind a wall that hadn't been touched in generations, Corwin discovered a chamber. It was hidden, almost forgotten, yet hummed with an energy that called to him like a beacon in the night. The chamber was circular, its walls inscribed with strange symbols that pulsed under the moonlight, a language not meant for the living. And in the center, resting on an altar of blackened stone, lay a book. It had no title. Only flesh-bound pages and ink that smelled like copper and decay. He opened it, each page revealing more secrets than Corwin thought possible. He read of preservation, of rituals and incantations, of ways to cheat death's embrace. And then, with trembling hands, he began to anoint his mother's skin, to bathe her in tinctures brewed by midnight, to whisper to her long after sleep had taken the rest of the world. Then, as suddenly as the morning mist, she was gone. The chronicles of Raventhorn disagree on her passing. Some claim illness took her, others whisper poison. He did not scream. He simply vanished. Not from the castle, but from life itself. Servants would find his meals untouched, his bed unrumpled, his chair empty by the hearth. He wandered the halls barefoot, lips moving without sound. A prince made of silence. But what no one knew, what no bard dared to sing, was this. He had not buried his mother. He had not placed her in the royal tomb beneath the chapel of Saint Lysander, as was customary. No, Corwin, in a moment of desperate brilliance or utter madness, had taken her body from the crypt the night after her death and brought her to his chambers. There, wrapped in velvet and bathed in lavender oils, he kept her in the royal bed where he once curled at her side as a child. He told no one, not the priests, not the king, not even his own mind, which refused to confront the grotesque mercy of what he had done. A few, more daring, suggest the king himself had a hand in it, unable to bear the fact that the people loved her more than him. But whatever the truth, the night she died, the moon bled red and every raven in the kingdom screamed, and young Corwin, barely a man, was left to wander the echoing halls of Highmore Castle, a spectre of grief-given form. He did not weep. Time, as it does, should have taken her from him. But Corwin was the heir to Raventhorn, and heirs have power. She did not rot. This is your host, and if you enjoyed this tale of magic and mourning, stay tuned for more. The 7th year after Queen Althea's death was the worst winter in living memory. Snow buried the roads. Wolves grew bold and strong enough to hunt down deer in the forest glades. Even the chapel bells froze mid-swing, silenced by the merciless cold. In the heart of that desolation, King Edron that is, Corwin's father fell grievously ill. He knelt beside his mother and spoke only one sentence, I kept my promise. When they tried to touch her, the skin on their fingers blistered. The air warped, as though the room itself rejected their intrusion. A priest screamed as blood poured from his ears. Another fainted upon seeing her eyes suddenly open, unblinking. They tried to burn her, but fire refused her. He was bedridden, fevered, eyes turning to glass and sightless with each passing day. He sent for his son, The court expected a farewell, a confession, a last-minute gesture of remorse. What they witnessed was far stranger. Corwin entered the royal chamber at dusk. The torches dimmed. Upon his arrival, as though the flames themselves feared what followed him, he sat beside the king, laid a gloved hand on the old man's chest and whispered, "She remembers what you did." The king, already gaunt and ghost-like, began to convulse. His screams echoed through the castle, and within the hour, he was dead. No wounds, no signs of poison, just fear carved into every line of his face, as though death itself had whispered a secret too terrible to bear. The following week, Corwin was crowned king, and for the first time in over a century, Raventhorn's throne room was cloaked in black instead of red. No celebration, no feast, only a coronation performed in candlelight, with crows lining the windows like silent judges. His crown was cold iron, not gold. His robe, not crimson but ash grey. He said no vows, gave no speech, only looked upward as though someone above or below was watching. And still, no one knew. No one but the old midwife Fagra who had once served the queen once, long ago. Her back hunched, eyes milked white by age, but her mind sharp. She had noticed it first, the scent of clove and decay that lingered when Corwin passed. The way his right hand never left his chest, as if guarding something he dared not drop. One night, she followed him, past the guards, past the locked doors. She knew the old paths, the crawl spaces behind the walls. And what she saw shattered her. There, in the center of Corwin's bedchamber, surrounded by dried herbs and silver bowls filled with black wax, lay Queen Althea. Her skin flawless, save for the stillness. Her lips touched with color. Her hair braided, freshly combed. And above her, seated like a sentinel in mourning, was Corwin reading aloud from the flesh-bound book. His voice was soft, reverent, trembling with devotion. Not madness, not horror, but love so absolute it had twisted into something darker. Agra ran. She told the clergy. She begged the archbishop to intervene, and so they came. Torches, crosses, holy words dripping from fearful tongues. They broke into the chamber at dawn, expecting demons. They found instead tragedy. Corwin did not fight. The clergy declared it blasphemy. The court called it madness. And yet, none could deny the miracle, or the horror. They dragged Corwin through the snow, chained at the wrists. His eyes did not flinch, not even as villagers threw stones or spat curses, which, they cried, Gravaroba, abomination. He only whispered, "She needed me." At his trial, held in the ruins of the old cathedral, the archbishop asked one question. Why? Corwin, gaunt and regal even in chains, replied, "Because love is stronger than death. And because she died before she could tell me goodbye." There was silence, the kind that doesn't end, only grows heavier. The verdict was swift exile. Death would have made him a martyr. They wanted him forgotten, cursed to wander the outer lands where snow never melted and stars never shone. But before he was taken, Corwin made one final request: to bury his mother in the chapel of St. Lysander, as was a rite. They agreed, but when the priests opened the chamber, they found the bed empty. No herbs, no wax, no velvet wrappings, only a single raven feather and a whisper that made one scribe tear out his eyes. Some say Corwin escaped and took her with him, disappearing into the black forest. Others believe she finally rose, and he walked beside her, neither living nor dead, just bound by a love that defied all gods and graves. What is certain is this: years later, hunters in the northern woods spoke of a pale woman who wept blood beneath the trees, and a man who followed behind her, reciting verses no man should know. They left no tracks, but the air grew cold where they passed, and the birds went silent. To this day, in the ruins of Highmore Castle, some claim you can still hear Corwin's voice, echoing in the dead of night, not screaming, not laughing, reading, as though the story still isn't finished, as though she still listens, and as though love true, tragic love never truly dies. Thank you for listening. Please like and share if you enjoyed this tale, and be sure to follow for more dark fairy tales and folklore from around the world every week. Until next time, farewell.